Make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, not sharing this video means you are a part of the problem. I need you to listen to this. Pay attention. I don't care if you voted for Biden or not. This is an administration issue that is not being dealt with. I don't know if it's because of incompetence or they might just be complicit. Who knows? I don't know. But you listen and make a judgment call. You have to make a judgment call.
Well, first of all, I want to thank all of you for coming here. Senator Cornyn asked, what can we do to get the Biden administration's attention on this? It starts with getting the media's attention to this awful, awful problem. This is a chart that I started developing as Chairman of Homeland Security, and way down on the left-hand side of that chart, that was the humanitarian crisis that President Obama declared when we were apprehending about 2,000 people a day. His Secretary of Homeland Security, Jay Johnson, said it was a really bad day for Border Patrol when they encountered or apprehended 1,000 people a day. As Senator Langford said, we've hit days of 10,000. And the Obama humanitarian crisis just looks like a little bump in comparison to what is happening under Joe Biden. We don't talk enough about what humanitarian depredations are occurring because of this illegal flow. Senator Hoeven talked about the numbers. He's talking about encounters. We don't even call them apprehensions anymore. Now we encounter, we process, and we disperse. Some are returned, but in total, DHS not being particularly transparent about this, but we are approaching about 5 million people during the Biden administration that have come to this country illegally, been encountered, processed, and dispersed, or come in as a known or unknown godly. Almost 5 million people.
Almost 5 million people. Now, yeah, the U.S. is big, granted. What are those 5 million people going to do for work in an economy that is tanking? What are they going to do for shelter? For a place to live. How are they going to afford it if there are no jobs? What happens to their children? What happens to the education system that is already capped? Have you thought about it?
Half the states have a population less than 5 million people. That is the magnitude of the problem. As Chairman of Homeland Security, we held something like 30 hearings on this problem. We talked about the human depredations. We talked about how children are being sold for $81 to create family units to exploit our asylum laws. We heard testimony of a little 3-year-old boy just left to die in a field, basically, with a phone number written on his shoe. That's what happens after they've been used. They just get abandoned. Or even worse, they get put into human or sex slavery. And we're not talking about that enough. We're not talking about the human depredations result of President Biden's open border policy. His open border policy is facilitating the multi-billion-dollar business model of some of the most evil people on the planet. Back in the envelope calculation last time I was at the border, figures about $18 billion we're funneling into the human traffickers, into the sex traffickers, and the drug traffickers. I was recently on a Zoom call with Tim Ballard talking about the Sound of Freedom movie that is doing well at the box office. So over $100 million so far collected. What's happening on the left is they're vilifying that movie. The media, mainstream media, is ignoring it. When the story, the tale that movie is telling ought to be highlighted. Sex trafficking little children, Where do you think the 85,000 children that they've lost track of, what do you think they're doing? How do you think the young...
I was talking about this, as I've said before, since last year, right? We are now in July. So late last year, I made a video about human and drug trafficking. You could check my catalog. It's there. Before this movie was ever a thing, before people were talking about it, before it became an issue online, I made a video because it just seemed that what was going on at the border was an issue, and it's only the people there that were really seeing the effects. Then it started being the people where these people were being bused to. And they're like, hey, the economy's bad. You're just taking all these people and busting them into these so-called sanctuary cities. All right, but after that, what happens then? He just mentioned 85,000 children. So there is a system for them to take these children in, but you're supposed to check up on them to see, how they're doing. Out of all those that have so-called sponsors, 85,000, they weren't able to contact them. Now, what is the assumption that can be reached about these 85,000 children? If the people who so-called sponsored them can't be reached to, find out how the children are doing, are they in school, what's the situation, etc., etc., what do you think happened to them? That's why I said, again, if you don't share it, you're part of the problem.
Young women pay off their $5,000 to $15,000 human trafficking fee. It's in the sex trade. It's in human trafficking. It's other forms of involuntary servitude. The American people need to be told the story by the mainstream media so that the public will put pressure on the Biden administration to stop this, to end this. Now, next Tuesday, I'm very pleased that Speaker McCarthy is hosting a viewing of The Sound of Freedom Tuesday night. I'm certainly going to go. I hope if you don't have an opportunity to go to that, I hope you go to a theater and hear that story and then tell that tale. Thank you.
So, as I said, the onus is on you to share the video, let people know what's going on. It's happening at such a magnitude that has never been seen before. He said it was a bad day during the Obama administration if you had 1,000 people come through. They're seeing 10 times that number, 10,000. That's just the number of encounters that they have. That's not talking about the people that come through scot-free, that, nobody even knows they're coming through. And that's just at the southern border. We're not even talking about the north, because apparently people have been coming in through the north. And this is not just people from South America. I don't think people are getting that. These people are being taken in from all over, funneled through South America and up into North America. I mean, literally from all over. We have no idea who's coming in. And as I said before, I feel for people who are trying to flee from a country and leave a bad situation to come to a land of opportunity. Everybody wants to come here for the American dream. But realize a nightmare is also a dream. If you flee from a country, come here and end up being trafficked or used in the sex trade, that is a nightmare. Everybody has illusions of what the American dream is. A lot of people come here to live it. But a nightmare is also a dream, and these people are living through a nightmare. That could end up also being yours because, let's face it, when you have that magnitude of trafficking in a country, sooner or later there's going to be some collateral damage, right? There's going to be. It's bound to happen. Now, I heard a lot of so-called blacks, Negroes, on YouTube talking about, the young lady from Alabama who disappeared and she faked her disappearance. This is one person who's an adult. That problem is minuscule compared to what we're dealing with this open borders policy from the Biden administration. Make no mistake. The economy is already bad and it's just getting worse. This cannot continue. Until next time, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. It seems hard to find anywhere else. I know people say a lot of things about Republicans and, there's a whole divide, Republicans versus Democrats and blah, blah, blah. But truth be told, on this, they're 100% right. So what are you going to do? Are you going to make people aware of it? That's the least you could do. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.